Hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Chamber Within. When I first started to awaken, I was hungry, spiritually hungry, for information. Hidden information in plain sight, well known information I had previously misinterpreted. In general, I was looking for all sorts of spiritual information to feed my soul. I often stalked the New Age spiritual section of Barnes& and Noble. And of course, every thrift store I could find relentlessly. Now, those were the real gems because I could get esoteric books for dirt cheap. No one cared about making a profit on A Course in Miracles or Ask and It Is Given. Oh, and the Law of One, which was one of my favorites. Cheap, cheap these books were. But my goodness, it was a priceless find for me each and every time. This became my daily bread, the knowledge of how to operate in a world where things were seemingly stacked against us. And don't get me wrong, they are, but I say seemingly because the real truth is that they don't have to be if we shift our focus inward rather than to our outermost world. The world in which we are constantly reacting to things that feel out of our control and make us feel helpless in return. The world that says, you aren't enough, you don't have enough, you need more, you have this problem and that trauma, and everyone else is the problem, and the reason you are not living the life of your dreams. These are all very much so bottom rung experiences, as I like to put it. I say this because once you begin to climb higher and higher in consciousness, you begin to see things a bit clearer from a higher point of view. You are able to see things with a clearer shift in perspective and begin to notice the masquerade that is being danced. With my awakening, I learned how to still my mind, and with this skill was able to lean into my power and learn how to isolate the noise, to pull the curtain on its illusionary power. All of us have this ability. Our true power is our inner knowing, our gut feelings about how to make decisions that fit our lives, not the one being dictated by others, and learning how to trust our own guidance system along the way. There's an invocation that spans all of 12 of the Paul Selig's books, and it goes, I know who I am, I know what I am, and I know how I serve. I am free, I am free, I am free. Who I am is everlasting. What I am is an energy body housed in the temporary flesh. How I serve is by being here. My life is an act of service. By learning how to operate in this body in a better way, it puts information into the collective field, information that we can all access and pull from if we could just listen. I've learned that if I have a question, with patience, the answer comes. One of my favorite quotes from A Course in Miracles is that infinite patience produces immediate effects. To me, I understand this to mean that worry is a misuse of my creativity. So I catch myself when I realize I am misusing it and am essentially misaligned by this fear. I don't worry. I know that I will have an answer. I don't fear because I know that I am on a path and I'm being led by my higher self. Trusting that I am being guided in love and safety has always helped me to be okay with wherever I stand because change is inevitable, so it gives me patience. Learning these small lessons has expanded my sense of self and the meaning of life as I know it. Now, early on in my journey, I wrote an essay called Spiritual Training Wheels. And this was back in March of 2022. And there are notes that I'd like to highlight about that lesson today. And here it goes. What I look for in a spiritual teaching is whether or not our very own self-empowerment is discussed. I listen to see if a teacher lets us know that eventually we will have to consult with our own self for the answers that we seek, rather than constantly be spoon-fed information from them or anyone else in perpetuity. I think that's telling. So at first, although it is quite helpful, constant guidance can be a hindrance for those on their journey because it is easy to be reliant upon it. And the grand truth is that we all have our own lessons. We must also grow in spirit like we grow in our physical body. So it's my belief that infantilizing followers is a disservice and obviously disempowering for the student who is seeking expansion. All seekers of spiritual knowledge will eventually learn how to acknowledge the subtle energies that surround us and learn how to trust in their own intuition. Inner awareness and self guidance is a very important tool when walking your own path. This is the growth from thinking to knowing. Knowing how to trust our consciousness and what feels right is an exercise that allows us to follow our own personal North Star. Granted, we have learned to trust in our own direction. I know what it's like to become so addicted to a teaching that we inadvertently become accustomed to self-doubt. This has been the nature of our reality up until now, and fortunately, we're all living in the time of grand awakening. The idea of being separate from Source is such a pervasive notion that we feel others know what is best for us because of their title of authority. This belief that we are not personally worthy of access to truth keeps us in the illusion of separation and can stifle the growth we may actually seek. When this is done, I have learned that you are then relinquishing the beautiful experience of self-discovery, that which can lead to the art of self-mastery. True spiritual teachers will ultimately lead you back to yourself and do so because within is where the answers always are. Now, I'm going to end quote there. The beauty of this particular time in my life when I wrote this, while I was searching and searching for answers while reading in between meditations, is that I wrote this particular essay around 3 a.m. on the date aforementioned. I think I said March of 2022. The following day, I felt compelled to go to a new thrift bookstore and discovered A Course in Miracles. I was back home in my room reading these very statements at 3 p.m. and was happily surprised to see this. A good teacher clarifies his own ideas and strengthens them by teaching them. Teacher and pupil are alike in the learning process. They are in the same order of learning, and unless they share their lessons, conviction will be lacking. A good teacher must believe in the idea he teaches, but he must meet another condition. He must believe in the students to whom he offers the ideas. Now, this is on page 53. A few paragraphs down on page 54, it continues, every good teacher hopes to give his students so much of his own learning that they will one day no longer need him. This is the one true goal of the teacher. I love that. I love the fact that along the way, I was given or found information that coincided with a learning tool that I was seeking. I trust information like this because you're not infantilizing me. You're not treating me like I can't get to a knowing that is my own inheritance. So I say that to say this. We do not need an intermediary. Guidance, yes. Teaching, yes. But we are connected to Source. All of us are. Another thing I wanted to share, which I have to, is that around the same time, I had a lingering for about 2 weeks. It was a thought that I just couldn't shake. And I found this thought written out on this very page 44 of A Course in Miracles. It's the book I'm reading from. Sorry if I didn't share that. I'm just really excited. Here it is. It says, many are called, but few are chosen, should be. All are called, but few choose to listen. Therefore, they do not choose right. The chosen ones are merely those who choose right sooner. Right minds can do this now, and they will find rest unto their souls. God knows you only in peace, and this is your reality. You know, I was wrestling with the term chosen, and with reading spiritual books, knowing that no one is better than the next. And I was thinking, well, aren't the chosen those who choose? Simply that. That's the only difference. Again, we are all uh, part of source. There is no one is special, more special than the next. And I kept hearing the chosen ones, and back in 2020, 2021, and of course, sometimes I still hear it now, and I feel like that's giving specialness, and there is no specialness. So that idea that I had in my mind led me to a spiritual teaching, which makes me feel like I knew it. We all know it inherently, and we just maybe need validation or um, someone to bring it up to help us remember. But essentially, what I want to say is this today. My purpose is to share that not only do I speak about my supernatural experiences, not only do I recommend books that I have read and would like to start having a book recommendation segment eventually, or I think I'm doing it now, book recommendation segment. But in addition to this, if you would allow me to, I'd love to incorporate a spiritual advice segment at the end of each episode. And the reason I feel so strongly about answering questions is because I'm a fellow seeker and know what it's like to be on the awakening path alone in the human sense. And what I mean is that any spiritual teachers I have consulted with have been over Zoom, group teachings, since this all occurred during the pandemic, or on listening panels hoping to get my answer for a particular circumstance. I know that we are truly never alone. I mean, person to person, having common life discussions sorted out in real time. I have fallen, learned, and am still learning on my path to remembrance. And it just makes me know that as I seek, I am receiving. Anyway, do you have a question on your path? You can now submit questions to me to be featured in a future episode, whether it's about awakening struggles, feeling stuck, or learning how to hear your inner voice. All of your questions matter. I would feel honored to help you along the way. You can submit questions by DMing me on TikTok at the_chamber_within or email me at thechamberwithin@yahoo.com. Please put in the subject line Chamber Within question so that I can isolate your email for this segment. You can also let me know in the subject portion if you would like for me to use your first name or if you would like to remain anonymous for privacy purposes. I look forward to all of your questions, and I want to say thank you again for listening today, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.